Pong Hustle. Chapter 2. The First Challenge. As she closed her eyes and inhaled the cool sea air, her mind drifted back to the current match, analyzing each stroke, each decision, searching for any flaw in her strategy. Yet no matter how much she tried to focus on her win, a shadow loomed over her thoughts. The past, once again, forced its way to the front of her mind. Kim's thoughts churned, like the ocean's undertow, as she struggled to reconcile her triumph with the demons that continued to haunt her. A year ago, in that fateful final against Sable, she had been placed in an impossible position, forced to choose between loyalty to her team and her own pride. The pain of that moment, of being asked to throw a game to build someone else's confidence, had never truly left her. The match was a thrilling display of exceptional talent, with Sanj's countrymen dominating the audience. However, their loyalty lay elsewhere. In the first game, Sanja's mind was clouded by her team leader's expectations, and overwhelmed by the pressure and the power of her opponent. The audience had their allegiance firmly with Sable, her younger, rising teammate. They erupted into applause whenever Sable won a point, while Sanja's successes were met with indifference. The silence felt like a betrayal. The disparity in support unnerved Sanj, and she suffered a crushing defeat in the first game. But that loss snapped something inside her, stirring a dormant fire. She refused to yield. Regrouping, she deployed her Imperial American flip strategy, a level 5 technique that neutralized Sable's power by swinging the ball left and right. The tactic paid off, and Sanj swiftly seized the next two games, her experience and intelligence shining through. Yet Sable wasn't just a young, promising player, she was fierce and relentless. She regrouped, countering with ferocious precision, reclaiming the lead in the fourth game. The match was tied again, and the tension was palpable. As the fifth game began, Sanj fought not only Sable but the voices of doubt and pressure that had been gnawing at her since the match began. Guided by the voices within, Sanj drew upon her experience and determination, wresting back control. The fifth game was a nail-biting showdown, with both players pushing each other to the brink. Sanj emerged victorious, 11-9, but she knew the fight was far from over. It was in the sixth game that something inside her snapped, not in defeat, but in fury. She played with a violence she had never felt before, smashing the ball with an intensity that surprised even her. Each strike felt like a release, an exorcism of all the anger, frustration, and humiliation that had built up inside her. She wasn't just trying to beat Sable anymore, she was smashing through years of expectations, through the system that demanded loyalty at the cost of her dignity. Each point won felt like she was tearing down the walls that had confined her, like breaking free from a cocoon. Sanj won the sixth game 11-6, sealing the match 4-2. The victory was hers, but as the final point was called, she felt no rush of elation. For a fleeting moment, a storm of vengeful delight surged through her, followed by a hollow, oppressive silence. She had won the championship of the tournament, but the ovation she expected never came. There were no cheers, no applause, no embrace of triumph from her teammates or the audience. Her team leader and the coaches stood with cold, expressionless faces. The audience, once vocal in their support for Sable, now stood silent, one man even flipping her the middle finger. Sanj knew why. Sable was the rising star, backed by a prominent apparel sponsor. That company had not only financed a portion of the audience's travel but had promised hefty bonuses to the team leader and coaches, on the condition that Sable won the championship. With Sanj's victory, that promised fortune evaporated. The money, the sponsorship deals, the prestige they had anticipated slipped away in an instant. Their disappointment and anger were now directed squarely at Sanj, the unexpected spoiler of their carefully orchestrated plan. Sanj stared out at the sea of indifferent faces and realized that this was her victory, cold, empty, and devoid of any joy. The glory she had long imagined would accompany a championship win wasn't there. Instead, she felt only the sting of isolation, the deep wound of betrayal from those she had thought would stand by her. She had hoped that this victory would bring her a sense of fulfillment, that it would mark the culmination of her career with honor and recognition. She had dreamed that her name would join the legends of the game, her win shining as a beacon in her final years in the sport. But instead, she stood on the court, Champion in name only, her triumph mocked by those who should have celebrated it. The victory that should have brought peace now felt like a bitter illusion, offering nothing but humiliation and an overwhelming sense of loss. This, Sanj thought sadly, is what victory feels like. She felt a strange pang of loneliness wash over her, more intense than anything she'd experienced before. She'd journeyed alone deep into mountains and across vast oceans, yet nothing had felt as lonely as this moment, standing in a bustling crowd, surrounded by people watching and chatting. A childhood memory suddenly surfaced. She recalled one night, long ago, watching shooting stars in front of her village home, completely captivated by the sparkling sky. Her grandfather had come outside and gently patted her head. "When will Mom and Dad come home?" she had asked, her voice hopeful. Her grandfather sighed. "They were sent to jail on charges of corruption. They may never come home. But I had a dream, they were coming back." He looked at her thoughtfully. "Dreams are precious. They make life beautiful. It's far better to dream and fail than to succeed without ever dreaming." Her eyes shone with youthful conviction. "I have many dreams, Grandpa." "Mom," he gently interrupted, pointing up to the stars. "Aren't the shooting stars beautiful?" "Yes," she whispered, transfixed. "Why are they so beautiful?" "Because they're fleeting," he replied. "It's their transience that makes them precious. Just like a real flower is more beautiful than a plastic one. True beauty and success are always ephemeral." Back in the present, as she reflected on his words, she felt a quiet joy. She had realized her dream, even if its glory was brief. And in that understanding, she found peace. She had no regrets. Sanj abruptly retired from competition after the tournament, walking away from the national team and the only life she had known. She longed for peace, to live quietly with her family, away from the spotlight and the relentless pressure. In addition to her passion for the game, she loved creating artwork. Her passion for art, once a sideline hobby, now blossomed with newfound freedom. With the extra time, she immersed herself in honing her craft, exploring vibrant colors and textures. A lifelong dream began to take shape, hosting her own art exhibition. Sanj envisioned a gallery filled with her evocative pieces, each one telling a story of resilience and triumph. As she poured her heart into every brushstroke, she felt the same focus and determination that once drove her athletic success. But fate, as always, had other plans. As she stood on the beach, reminiscing about her past, a faint melody wafted on the breeze, carrying the familiar lyrics of a homeland pop song. Ancient grudges reignite, swords clash, bright moonlight dances, sleeves wave in the night, the west wind calls, leaves drift, flowers fade, a bed of blades where rest is betrayed. You roam vast lands, bound yet free, farewells weigh heavy, known to thee. Hair touched by frost, a cup held high, to storms and shadows, your spirit defies. Kim's heart skipped a beat. The song stirred memories she had long buried, memories of struggle, triumph, and the weight of expectation. Tears welled up in her eyes. She hadn't heard that song in over a year, since her days on the national team, since she had left her homeland. It was a song of warriors, of wandering souls burdened by the past. She turned, scanning the beach for the source of the haunting tune. There, perched on a large rock, was a man. His shoulders were slumped, and he gazed out at the endless ocean as he softly sang the words. Kim recognized him. She had seen him before, often lingering around the beach. He was a quiet figure, unnoticed by others, but she had watched him enough times to know his habits. He often slept beneath a boulder, tucked away from the world. Sometimes, she saw him pull turtles from the shore, gently slicing off barnacles from their shells with a knife before setting them free again into the sea. There was something deeply human, almost ritualistic, in the way he cared for the creatures, perhaps because, like them, he was adrift, looking for shelter in a foreign land. A pang of solidarity struck Kim as the song faded into the sound of the waves. She sensed that he, too, was an illegal migrant from her country, lost and homeless in this foreign land. As she watched him, a mix of emotions swirled within her, nostalgia, longing, and a deep-seated understanding of the struggles they shared. Moved by the stranger's haunting melody, Kim's voice rose in response, weaving a harmonious thread of shared longing. She sang another homeland pop song. Shadows fade, legends revive silken threads, starlight survives east wind whispers, tales unfold river of time, stories told winds of change, they howl and weep, dreams of peace in a restless sleep, eyes like flame, heart still torn, restless spirit, battle worn. You're a wanderer, in distant lands. Heart of fire, with noble plans, eyes like snow, spirit unbound, soul of steel, heart of sound, moonbeams dance. Upon your face reflections of a storied past, leaves of memory, rustle free whispers of what's yet to be.